We're in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, talking with the Reverend Lynne Austin, a board member of International Child Care USA. It's March 10th. Lynne and her husband, Dr. Ray Aller, have been in Haiti for a few days. Can you tell us why did you want to come to Haiti at this particular time?
I was here in November of last year with two other people, and our purpose of being here at that time was to do spiritual care, pastoral counseling with the hospital staff, some of the outpatients and the children, and it was a very compelling experience, and of course was before the earthquake. And so then when the earthquake hit, much of what we were dealing with then was grief issues, how to deal with the loss of family members when you really did not have time to stop and grieve, when your work demanded that you be there. So when the earthquake happened, there was just such a strong sense within me that because I'd formed friendships, I wanted to come back so badly. The passion to come back and make sure they were okay was really the first impulse, and then the idea of beginning to assess the type of psychological and pastoral care work that we might do ongoing with the hospital staff and children.
When you talked with Grace Children's Hospital employees this morning about where they were when the earthquake struck and what happened to them, were there any common themes in their stories?
Oh my, their faith, they always started off with thank you to God that I am alive, that those members of my family who survived are alive. There was immediately gratitude that they were okay, that their reliance upon God was so strong. And then they would proceed to tell horrific tales of that day, and they would say the date on January. It was numbing to hear, but their common thread was their gratitude to God that they were alive.
Did anything you hear surprise you?
It surprised me because it was coming from someone sitting there with me. It was similar perhaps to what any of us would have seen on TV or in the news, the kinds of stories. But this was someone sitting there in our small group. We had a small group of folks for the purpose of all of us listening to each other. And the fact that these were staff members at this hospital that we love so much, and it was very much like family. And to know that they were telling their tale with the trust of how we were listening. And we learned later that they did not normally talk that openly, that was very different, and that was very compelling.
What's your overall impression of the emotional and the psychological health of the Grace Children's Hospital employees and other residents of Port-au-Prince that you've met over the last few days?
They're tired, they're war-weary, they're hot, they're tired of living in a tent or on the street with strangers, with no one, and at the same time they're putting one foot in front of another. They're saying how grateful they are to God. They're, if anything, the kind of message, we asked them, what message can we take back to people at home? And their message was, it's so important that we are grateful to God for being alive, and it's so important that we change as people, that we become, that was surprising, that we become better people, that we become kinder, that we become good, that's important. I would not have heard that from an American individual who had been through trauma. It's totally different.
Based on your previous trips to Haiti as well as this current one, what is your sense of the future of Grace Children's Hospital and International Child Care in Haiti? Do you feel it will be able to weather this terrible situation and be sustained in the future?
Absolutely. 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 More so, I think, than any of us where I am from who would go through a similar disaster, because they are constantly so grateful that they are alive. They're absolutely devastated, and there is rubble, rubble, rubble everywhere. And to look at it as we drive through the streets makes it very difficult to imagine this city being a vibrant, healthy, good place again. But talking to the individuals at the hospital, I mean, this is where they live, this is what they do, and they're so grateful for the presence of those who come with an open heart and with a willingness to listen and be part of who they are. I think those two are bound to work together.
Thank you very much, Lynn. We've been speaking with the Reverend Lynne Austin, a United Methodist pastor from Southern California, who's been in Haiti recently providing pastoral care to staff and patients and children at Grace Children's Hospital in Port-au-Prince. Thank you, Lynn.